Ready to go? Thank you. Welcome everybody to the meeting of the local planning Huntersville local planning panel meeting of the 28th of August. The time is 11:05. I'm Charles Hill. I'm the chairperson for the day. With me is Graham Brown, expert member, David Brian Kirk, member, Diana Kirk, also an expert member. Also present on Zoom is Nick Tobin, the acting general manager. I have Steve Kuripis, who's the director of planning today, and we're joined by Sarah Valentine, town planning coordinator, and Kieran Metcalf, who's helping us with the local planning panel today. Are there any apologies? No apologies. Declaration of interest, Brian?
No conflicts of interest.
No conflict.
Brian? And no conflicts, and I have no conflict of interest either. Confirmation of minutes of the last meeting, which was held on the 10th of April 25. I recommend that those minutes be adopted. Is everyone in agreement with that?
In favour?
Yes.
Thank you very much. General business, we have one item today on the review of the council's local environment plan. Just to start the meeting, Steve's going to give us a bit of a background, as is Kieran, and then we can debate. I'm suggesting, and I'm open to discussing, that we just concentrated on the highlight areas for now, and then we can move back to the other if required, but that will lead us to show us what wording is proposed. It may be changed by the Parliamentary Council, of course, but the objective of the clause is what we can agree on. So if everybody's happy with that, we'll proceed on that basis. So Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Just a matter of... It's been going on for a little while yet, and Kieran will give you an overview of where we are today. We initially started with anomaly changes review, incorporating heritage issues. Discussing this matter with the Department of Planning, they've asked us to separate the two, so heritage versus pure and planning LEP issues. So today we just looked at the LEP changes, and that this advice will go to a meeting of council in September. Having said that, also in September there will be a review paper of the DCP for marrying with the LEP. I'll move over to Kieran to give you a detailed overview of the proposal authorised.
Thanks, Kieran.
Thank you. And just as a little bit of context there as well, this process started with really the LS local strategic planning statement and local housing strategy reviews some time ago. So we're talking around the 2019-2020 when the council's reviewing its strategic planning framework and seeing how to have the best framework that we can for our local community. So from that process, there's obviously a number of actions that fell out of the LSPS and the LHS. And once again, this is one of the critical ones. So rather than seeking to enact any particular type of development, this process, the review of the LEP and DCP, is really about augmenting what we already have to make it clear for development applicants that come into council, so that they can read and understand the LEP and the DCP, to ensure that we appropriately identify what's important to the community, absolutely the character and the heritage. So it's about recognising that, and also making sure that the provisions that we have in place in these documents protects those values that are important to the community. So there was a scope that was developed. We had a workshop in this building back in 2022. Around 300 community members turned up to that, so that was good. We went through a whole heap of issues, including state government reforms and obviously what we were proposing as part of the LEP review. So probably the main aspects is environmental conservation, protecting riparian areas, foreshore areas. We'll go into that in a bit more detail later. Heritage character, and also making sure that the documents, once again, are able to be comprehended easily by members of the community. So with that, we were working with the Department of planning, housing and infrastructure. They may have been a different department at the time, but we've done about 12 to 18 months of consultation with those guys in developing a planning proposal for the LEP. And that was quite a significant process, but we got to the point where we were able to develop a formal scoping report, and that was put to council. Council considered that, and we put that on public exhibition. So we received quite a number of submissions from the community, and it was reflected in a number of council reports, and also the planning proposal that's in front of us today as well gives a summary of that process. So all of those submissions were taken into consideration by council. It was put into a formal planning proposal, and once again, just keeping the department in the loop the whole time. And the planning proposal went to council. Council resolved to send it to the state government, and the state government came back to us with some comments. So the feedback was around, and you can imagine that process. There was a lot involved. There was a lot of input from the community, which is amazing. The product of that was very strong, and it spoke very heavily of the desire for character, for loving the place that we're in, and there was a lot of volume. And heritage was a big aspect as well. So there was a lot. The department, one of their main pieces of feedback was that it would be made more simple. So the department has their own legal arm, as you'll be aware, that at the end of the day will review a planning proposal and make a decision about what clauses are changed in the LEP. So this is LEP obviously being a state government piece of legislation. The community provides a proposal of what we want to see, and the state government will tell us effectively what will be permitted, what they're willing to change. So they wanted a more simple planning proposal. They also suggested that it was quite ambitious in how it was in its volume. So they did seek to have the heritage matters pursued as part of a separate planning proposal. So we were looking to we have some listings that need to be cleaned up effectively, sites that are listed that need to be clarified, whether it's through changing of naming or delisting if there's not an item there at all, which is obviously a problem. And there's some heritage items in the community that do need to be listed. So those things are critically important to the integrity of the LEP and the DCP, and incredibly important. So our heritage advisor currently is working on that piece, but we've effectively split the heritage component from all other matters within the LEP, and the all other matters LEP is what we're discussing today. So the planning proposal for that. So our heritage advisor and the rest of our team and council are working on that heritage planning proposal as we speak, to get that finalised, and that will come in the preceding months. There's quite a bit of work to make sure that that's solid for when it goes forward again. So the all other matters. So ordinary meeting of February this year, council considered the department's feedback, and they resolved to, in fact, split them into as was requested by the department. So that's the place that we're at the moment. Council's taken on board that feedback. We've updated our planning proposal. So effectively, and this matter was also reported to LPP back in 2024 as well. So, but it was as a consolidated document. So, what this planning proposal is seeking to do is be more simple in its language. So the department have requested that all markups of the LEP not be included in the main body of the document. Once again, they're saying to us that's our job. It's a very complex planning proposal and what it's seeking to achieve. In that it's not seeking development per se, but it is seeking to make quite a few changes. That's what it's doing for the objectives listed in the planning proposal. So make it more simple, put the objectives up front. All of the changes, they suggested that will be of value because the department will review those, all the markups in Appendix 1 to the planning proposal. That will be reviewed by the department's legal team in due course, should it be referred to the legal team, and they will review what we've done and they'll make a decision about what they're comfortable with. So and they gave us a few examples of what that can look like as well. So all of the markups are included in Appendix 1, so they're still here. and the start of the planning proposal has been made, hopefully more simple to read and understand what the objectives are. So as I said, it's about aligning with the DCP with the LSPS, so the strategic planning framework, just to very quickly into the objectives. The land use tables, once again, just to support the integrity of the document, if there's uses that are absolutely not envisaged within the local government area, we want to make sure that they're identified and removed. And there's certainly some complementary land uses as well, the market stalls in public open space, for example, that we thought would be a suitable thing for the community. So just an example of some proposals that have been put into the land use tables. So minimum lot size, probably the feature of this one is just to make sure that we're not counting the handle of battle axe blocks when we're working out lot size, because we believe that that's, I suppose I don't need to explain it too much, but that gives a skewed development outcome perhaps, because we're not working with a practical lot, we're working with, I suppose, a functional handle, but it doesn't really add to the ability to have a development that can include landscape area and the kind of character that we want, as highlighted in the objectives of our LEP. So I suppose moving on to another big feature of this is trying to align as best we can with the Parramatta River Master Plan, so to improve water quality, to improve the natural environment, biodiversity, in our instance, along the Lane Cove River and the Parramatta River. So we're one of obviously a large number of councils that have really joined that cause, and we do see model clauses that were recommended to LEPs and DCPs. We've seen those in part adopted by some councils, so certainly Parramatta's an obvious one. So we see some provisions that have gone through planning proposals into their LEP. We've been quite ambitious in that we are standing behind a lot of those model clauses and what they're seeking to achieve. And a lot of those things really align with the overall objectives of this process. Once again, environmental conservation, conservation of character, conservation of heritage. We see all these things really working in together. Perhaps some more contemporary aspects to the Parramatta River Master Plan around stormwater, for example, that we're also seeking to take hold of. So with regards to landscaped area, so there, clause 6.9 of the LEP, it has been difficult forever for applicants to be able to understand our development planners very, very frequently having to clarify how to calculate landscaped area, and even then applications are lodged quite frequently that misinterpret the clause. It's become quite a challenge. So what we sought to do, and we can look at the clause obviously and then we'll go into the green markups, but we just wanted to make it simple. What are we trying to achieve? We've just changed the wording. We haven't changed the ratios or anything like that. We just want to make it simple for people to understand. So hopefully we've gone some way to achieving that, and we'll obviously look at that in a second. So
just on that, we're pretty unique as a garden suburb, so we really have always focused on landscaping, deep soil planting, and like a site coverage percentage. Similar to Mossman, most other councils, as you're aware, have got a floor space ratio calculated for the residential. If you don't comply with the landscaping or height, then the FSR kicks in after that. We want to make sure that our landscaping clause is our pseudo FSR. So it's most important we get that right. Like Kieran said, we've been tussling with the wording of it. It's simple, it's easy, and no change to the overall ratio. We're not changing that, which will make it simple English for people to understand and get their head around it. That's all we're trying to do.
So,
and while we're on the roll, height is another one. We've got an issue of height as we go. We've got an overall height and an envelope control height. But inside the envelope, we want to make sure it's no more than 2 stories. That appears as 2 stories. That's a big issue that we've had numerous times around here because of the slope of the land. It's the character of 2 stories, and to ensure within the envelope of the 8.5 and the 7.2 that in that envelope it's a looks as a 2-story. So that's the intent. So, and we've had, as Kieran highlighted in the report, we have had numerous discussions with our with our lawyers on that, with Adam Seaton and also Phil Brown, because they're every day tussling and hassling these issues in the court. These are the issues we want to resolve to ensure that meets the intent of the council and what they want and the objectives of the LP. They will leave me at
Yeah, look, just a couple of other things that Schedule 1's got quite a few things that need to be cleaned up at the LAP, so that's additional permitted uses specific to certain lots, and Schedule 2, we're just proposing that outdoor dining be exempt development as reflected in a way in the code set currently, and very similar to Boston's LAP. So obviously being developed as a group exercise in the community with council staff. More recently, we've focused in on the department and also our lawyers to make sure that we're tight with whatever we're proposing, that it's going to be functional in achieving the objectives of the planning proposal.
Thank you, Steve, Karen. Guys, well, you happy now just to start going through each item, starting with the aims and go through them progressively? Okay.
Can I just say, I don't know what other people's views are. I'm not overly concerned about the specific controls. I mean, this is something that the council has put together based on a community input. I mean, I don't feel like, and I had a chat with Brian about this before, but I feel a bit uncomfortable involving myself too much in the detail, because this is what the community wants, and this is for the council to decide rather than us. I don't really want to delve too deeply into the fine details. So there's some issues that I would like to talk about, but I just feel a little uncomfortable as a panel telling the council what they should do based on what the staff have put together after a community consultation. So
look, I hear you, and I thank for that, but we just need to follow a process.
Yeah.
Going to advice from you, and I want to the advice from the experts. We do wording or whatever the intent to ensure that we can go back to council and say, yes, we've gone here, we've done that, we listened to the community, we've listened to our lawyers, we've listened to our professional staff, and we've listened to the panel. The panel's got the experience with regard to their expertise and the community rep as well. So we want to make sure we tell the council at the end of the day that we've done it.
Yeah. A question though, if you don't mind, Chuck. So Graham, when you talk about the details, so are you suggesting that we, and so they're not purple, they are actually green in my version, that we not go through the green bits?
I do. I think you need to go through them.
Pull your mic down to, yeah, that made it better, yeah.
I'd like to go through them, but you know, if the community consultation spoke about greater protection for landscaped areas and all that sort of stuff, I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, as an example, I've always found it incredibly difficult, particularly in steep areas, where you have a height control and you have a story control. It doesn't always work. And what happens, I mean, you're proposing the story control to be in the LEP. Now, presumably that's a development standard too, but normally the story control is in the DCP, whereas, and therefore the height control gets more preference in terms of the height.
Yes.
Now, putting it in the LEP, I mean, you'd have to do if you had something that varied the height as well as the story control, you'd have to put a clause 4.6 in for both.
Yeah,
I presume.
Just to clarify, in the current LEP, the two-story wording is in the objectives. So we've always had a drama, a problem with that. No, it's not a development standard, it's an objective. And now we want to make it clear that 2 stories is in development standard so we can hang our hat on something. I hear what you're saying, but we had numerous, you can still, we have numerous experiences where you can still, we bottled this, you still have the overall envelope plus your 2 stories, you can stagger it and provides a lower scale building and looks better and all that. So I understand what you're saying, but we have modelled it and we've had experience in it, and I appreciate what you're saying.
But I wouldn't object to it. I'm just saying that potentially there's a problem there
Yeah.
because having experienced it in the past.
Well, that's what we can say though, that potentially it's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, I'm happy to go through the green bits,
Yeah.
but Kieran, the department and parliamentary council are going to go through the green bits anyway.
Yeah.
Did they say, did I hear you correctly, they actually don't want you to do the green bits, or they want that as a, like very much an annexure to the PP report?
In summary, they don't want to be told what to do when it comes to legal drafting. So they want to know what we're seeking to achieve. They do value is the feedback that the work that we've done, but they would prefer that to be an appendix. Effectively, my understanding is that that provides a bit of flexibility at the legal drafting stage for them. Okay, so that's the objectives of their planning proposal. This is what's proposed. And then before.
So they'll take the green bits as very much draft, stamp all over it.
And review it.
And review it and change as required.
I don't know if you get to the green bits from what the general description of what you're trying to achieve. I mean, you really need the green bits because it doesn't reflect the detail that's required and what you want in the LEP.
But I think we can go through them rather quickly.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Diana, do you want to make any introductory comments as how the others have done?
No. I mean, I'm very aware of the heritage and wanting to retain the conservation of Hunters Hill, and but that's not going to be part of today, I believe.
No.
So I'm happy just to go through the green bits and then discuss any further issues from then on.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you, Graham. I guess I've got a few issues about, particularly around the height and the floor space ratio. I think we can go through very quick. I mean, the aims, I personally have no problem with the aims. There may be a tweaking of the wording, I think, but I was concentrating on the floor space ratio, the height, and there's a few implications. Probably similar to Graham, I suppose. That the consequences, and I just want to make sure we get that clarified.
I'd like to quickly have a bit of a look at how you've done the landscaping.
Yeah, the landscaping, I've got to say, is something to have a look at
important.
after, having to go through it myself on a number of developments.
Okay, well, we can start with the aims. Okay, if we go for a seriatim, 1.2 was the
Can I
aims.
just ask a couple of general questions? This hasn't been seen by the department board because, look, if I was given the option, I would vote yes. I advise the council to proceed on what's been shown to us. My fear is the department, with their absolute fascination with providing housing, that they will see all these different objectives or new objectives as means of
That's my concern. Yeah.
6 and reasons to refuse housing. And I just wonder, and what flows from that is, and I haven't dealt with the department for a long time with this sort of stuff. Do they still force the standard template then? Are they likely to accept all these changes to more specific objectives than are provided in the standard template?
So the first part of it, do they shove the standard template down through? Yes, they do. They have. We have needed to comply with the standard template in what we've done. That's a bit colloquial, I suppose, the way I've gone about saying that. But yes, we do need to comply with the standard template. And this has taken that into account.
So they'll let you add to the
some sections, There's some sections that you can add to and take from, and there's some that are non-negotiable, for want of a better term.
Okay. Well, a bit like Graham, I guess I was picking out, because I had an experience with another council recently whereby they were putting in a TOD development basically, and council pulled out the book and in terms about character and everything. I guess reading yours, I'm looking and thinking, well, we'll come to that in a minute, but are the character statements going to stop? I mean, when I'm dealing with, it'll be the first development in an area which is in 800 metres, and the council pulled out stops to make. I mean, so I want to make it the best as an example, but the character of the area, it's going to change. They're putting 3 townhouses, which is basically a 2-story resident development, and that's the sort of thing I think Graham's alluding to, which I'm thinking about when we come to that section anyway.
And what follows on is, are they still keen to have a specific controls or development standards in the LEP? And they still keen on forcing other standards or requirements down into the DCP. I'm just, because I suppose the one that sort of took my interest was, foreshore controls. They're winding back those in a lot of areas. What else was there? Anyway, look, we can talk about it if we go
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the department's attitude.
Yeah.
Yes, that we can't second guess the department's attitude.
No.
So the way I look at this, in support of Kieran, particularly, you've been responsible for most of this work, haven't you?
Mm.
So it's done a community consultation process. So they understand the wishes of the community. Now, these changes, I'll take at face value. You say that it's supported by the local housing strategy, and that has been signed off by the department. So I can only work. My view is we can only work on knowns, not the unknown.
Yep.
I thank you, and I add to that by saying, has it an impact on the housing for the area? No, it doesn't. This is more for residential dwelling houses and the environment, and it's some changes to the fixing up the anomalies. And on top of that, the department won't have. I don't think we should have a problem with us because we just plan proposal at the moment for 500 units. We've got another current plan proposal waiting in there for 300 odd units. A different type of housing. So I think we're punching above our weight, and also we're pulling all the stops and looking at our areas strategically. We're also looking at the Hunters Hill Village and other villages as well to look at further housing and further improvement in our commercial areas. So we're not sitting on our laurels, and the department shouldn't have a problem with us.
Well, I'd be happy for it to go ahead. My concern is my recent experience with the department and their rigid view on providing housing. Yeah. So anyway, look,
We're not like Coringa, we're different.
Okay, look at the aim, 1.2, the aims. Any comment on that?
No, look, the aims.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
Diana, you happy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
great.
like a correction of,
Aim?
yeah, I'm good. Yep.
Okay, the aims are okay. The next one I've got is permitted and prohibited development in the R2 zone. Changing of words.
it's mainly just changing the wording and making it,
So it's probably what Stephen Kieran was saying. It's concentrating on landscaping,
Yeah.
character of the area, mature trees, blah blah blah.
And my understanding, reading your report, goes ahead of this, is that you've provided more certain language.
Yeah.
yeah,
It
that's a
should have
nice way to put
encouraged,
it, more certain.
encourage, ensure, and all that
Yes.
sort of thing. Yes.
It's-
Okay. Happy with that section?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The R3 zone. Again, they're concentrating on the landscaping. The compatible with the desired future character of the area concerned me a bit, I suppose, in terms of how that lays up if you've got a TOD development.
Well, can I just ask that, because I've thought about that when I went through this documentation. What have you got that defines your desired future character?
So there was, just to give some context to this as well, there was a question that was asked before around whether the department might be happy to accept this at all. And to mitigate that issue, that challenge, the department have been involved in providing advice on these changes, not the exact document that we see in front of us today, but certainly they've reviewed and they've got back to us. So they've actually provided written confirmation that they're comfortable with this approach now. So, and just regarding the future desired character, and as Steve was alluding to, we've got a lot of master planning work happening up at Gladesville. And there's also the state government LMR reforms which have come through, which apply only to really the Gladesville, Baronia Park areas. Okay. So all of the future development through that master planning and through the state government reforms is really up at the Victoria Road end of the municipality. So really on that western side, where there's been a stated desire for many in the community to see change and renewal, that the state government reforms, obviously council doesn't have the same level of influence in that, but we're acknowledging that that's occurring. We're seeking to project forecast changes in dwellings and populations and what that means for for the community for any additional infrastructure or social services. So we're doing seeking to do a social assessment at the moment. We've got other pieces of work being done. We're looking to, obviously we're reviewing the DCP, same time as this. The DCP for Gladesville is being reviewed. We are at a draft stage of that, and that will complement the planning proposal for Gladesville as well. So the Gladesville chapter of the DCP will be bolstered, as will the balance of the DCP, but we've really got areas that we're heritage conservation areas where we want to maintain character and enhance character in the LGA, and we see areas where we can either through state government reforms or through community-driven master planning, we're able to review those areas and define clearly what the future desired character of those locations are. So it's been a real balance, but it's I suppose it's almost as if we're acknowledging change in some areas and looking to conserve things that the community values at the same time.
So do you have like I'm going back to the R2 zone, for instance. There'll be zones within 800 metres of a shopping centre, and then you get a townhouse development. How does that fit? Are you putting in your own proposal as an option to the TOD scheme, or are you just accepting what they're telling you? You must have something within 800 metres.
Yeah, look, once again, it's something that council's only got limited control of. They're non-discretionary development standards. We can't dictate, back up towards the state. They really facilitate this. So there's only a certain amount of control that I suppose that the council and the community have in that space. So we're doing the best we can with what's been implemented. So are we able to introduce development standards to mitigate that? We can't override state legislation is the reality of that situation. But for areas outside of the 800 metres, so we don't have any TODs, but we do have LMRs, which are effectively, a similar thing, as you know. So still the 800 metres, the 400 metres for more dense types of development. So we still have that. We really have the state government standards and non-discretionary standards. And certainly beyond that, we have our LEP and DCP, which we're, looking to make as strong as we can. Keeping in mind that the state government reforms have been extremely rapid. We're doing our best to keep up. But for example, the patent book reforms that come through recently, we really just received those at the month that it was being implemented. It's extremely difficult to plan for that, is the reality, but we're doing our best. As soon as we receive the information, we're taking it on board. We're seeing how it fits within our strategic planning framework. So the local strategic planning statement, local housing strategy are being reviewed. That review will start this year. And once again, the social assessments, the master planning activities that we're doing, population forecasts based on the LMRs, all of that kind of feeds into the wider strategic planning framework. So it's sorry for going into a bit too much detail.
No. You can't go into too much detail.
Not happening.
And just committee drawing attention to the permitted with consent, councils have added some additional uses there. I don't see any problem with those. But,
the only one I would just question was markets. A lot of the times there's a standard provision that allows to grant temporary consent for uses. I just wonder if markets would be better off going through that process rather than making it a permissible use. But that, again, I'm not really fussed either way. But I just have seen markets, you can get them, every second month for 4 hours on a Sunday or something.
The only markets we've got are the ones down at Woolwich Marina, aren't they? The La Manche ones, the French ones.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Which we're just really trying to cut red tape and allow more flexibility for the community.
You can still do the same thing through consent. Yes, you can have the market every second month on Friday.
That's what we
set
want.
something up for the future, like something a bit more. That's once a month at the moment.
We want to get away with that development consent because they want to utilise schools or they want to utilise the wharf or a park, whatever. Low use, low scale is fine. Go through development consent and all that sort of thing. It really puts everybody off and it's red tape. So we're just trying to, we had experience in this in the area and there's great ideas to get the community together. So that's what we want to do. And the council's supportive of it.
This requires consent to be granted for markets.
Markets.
And currently it's not in the LAP at all.
Okay.
That's
Not at all.
No, so this is a new
Yeah.
new permitted use, yeah.
Because
So there's a state policy as well, but now we're going to put in the LEP.
yeah. No, look, I think
Yeah.
you need to have development consent. I mean, you need to have toilet facilities. You need to have an emergency response plan. You need to, and that needs to cater for a stall owner who's doing stir fries or something and it blows up, or someone has a heart attack in the middle of the market, and you need to consider security and operating hours and
Always.
food licensing and all of the above. Noise and
That was down to the scale of what it is in the
exactly.
proposal.
That's right. And a bump in and bump out and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a music festival.
Put around here.
Okay, happy with that? E1 local centre, change in the objectives, addition to the objectives. Any comments on that?
The second last point about viability, I'm happy to leave it there, but it's a bit of a stretch as a planning thing, but
Where are you?
this is on
What page?
E1 local
Or
centre.
the
35.
first, yeah, these first, one, two, three, fifth dot point, Brian,
Yeah, got it.
and then he goes on after that.
Sorry, what's the
Answer, go,
It was just the use of the word viability as part of plan application. Look, you can say there, but I was just raising the issue of viability isn't always something that can be raised as part of an application.
Yeah. You want to question it?
No,
Yeah, just making the comment.
It's more like positive characteristics
Yeah.
of wanting to be achieved, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just don't want to get to the point where someone says, well, no, you can't have a fish and chip shop because there's already one there.
Yeah.
It's
not
threatening the
Yeah.
viability of the first one. So
Yeah.
then that's sort of a no-no in terms of planning stuff. But look, I'm happy to leave it there. I mean,
Yeah.
see what Parliamentary Council
Yeah.
does with it.
Okay, MU1, mixed use zone. There's one amendment, to maximise active and public transport opportunities. No problem with that?
No, I think that's
No.
Okay, principal development standards, this is the one. So got a number of amendments there, taking out the access handle. And I was interested in the one on the dual occupancy, I guess, but the same principle applies, I suppose. That, would that be contradictory to the state policy? I can't remember.
Good on
Okay,
good question.
Can I just say something? It like 1A, it says to provide sufficient space for trees and plantings around every building. It says generous. I mean, how do you quantify that? Is that something that would be quantified within the DCP as?
Yeah, it is being supported by the DCP. I suppose it's just about strengthening that word. So sufficient is the current word. So sufficient versus generous. Then obviously this is this is an objective.
Yeah.
So so we're seeking to enhance, not just do the, I suppose, give the bare what's sufficient. We're seeking to
Supply something that things will actually grow in, or
yeah, I mean,
work as a,
coming back to the garden suburb and of much of the municipality, that's what we're seeking to achieve. It's known for its gardens, it's known for its character, and heritage, and the heritage obviously means the gardens as well. So that's what we're really trying to focus in on there. So as an objective, as a word and an objective, this is perhaps just small, kind of nuanced,
pedantic.
Yeah. I suppose the objective seeking to achieve what we've heard in submissions. Some of the feedback's been quite strong in this regard. A lot of the feedback's been quite strong in this regard.
Yeah.
Around guidance, so we wanted to make sure that's captured and obviously supported by the DCP, which will be reported to council.
Yeah.
If I was reading that in another time, I would say that the DCP, if you satisfy the DCP, you're providing generous space for trees. If you provided 1 square metre less, you still might be providing adequate. I'm just not sure generous fits, but I'm not going to argue about it. But generous.
Yeah, I was trying to think of another word. I thought of adequate, but probably doesn't capture that either. What is adequate? But
It's just.
Anyway,
Can I just come back to, we're still on the, I'll come back to the 4.1 minimum subdivision size.
Yeah.
So 3B, for the avoidance of doubt, this clause applies to the subdivision of land for the purpose of a dual occupancy. I know you've got the words for the avoidance of doubt, but is that 3B actually necessary?
Yes, is our legal advice. It's to close ambiguity in the instrument. People may read other legislation and apply it to this municipality and be able to find, I suppose, ways to kind of get around what we're seeking to achieve. So that's direct feedback to us, trying to make sure that it clauses process. There is certain possibilities under legislation which can loop back to this. We just want to make sure that we're all clear on what we're seeking to achieve here. That does apply to that type of development as well. Perspective of what other legislation says. This is our interpretation, legal interpretation of that. We don't want a loophole.
Got it. Okay.
You happy with Brian? Leave it in. Yeah, I mean, are you happy with 3A as well, everyone?
3A.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Height of building 4.3.
I wasn't sure about, because the height of buildings is normally shown on a map. I was just wondering how can you do a provision in the text? Because normally everything about height is on the map.
Height map.
Yeah.
The height map, the overall height, that's the height of the overall building. So what they normally might do on sloping lots, they'll shove in modules of 3 stories and 4 stories when you from the water or other places. So what we want to do, the character of 2 stories. So what we're saying, the map shows 8.5. The outside in the DCP and the LEP, there's another height of 7.2 on the outside overall. And then within that box, we want to make sure it's only 2 stories. That's why we say the development's there 2 stories, number of stories.
Okay.
So you've got overall height, you've got outside height, and then you've got an envelope, but within that envelope, it's 2 stories only, not 3. So therefore you can have a stepping formation as long as none of that area exceeds those 3 height controls.
Yeah.
And there's ways and means that can happen, and we deal with it every day, and it looks good and it fits in with the existing 2-story rooftop sort of pitch roof character on those sloping sides. And when you look at those sloping sides from the waterscape, you'll pick it up then, instead of just having pockets of 4 stories and 3 stories, even though they meet the overall height, they don't meet the overall envelope control.
It steps down.
So subclause 2 really doesn't necessarily need to refer to 8.5 metres, because if subclause 1 says the height of buildings map, you refer to that, which would have 8.5. But again, I'm happy to let it slide.
Yeah, we're just trying to make it very clear.
Yep.
All right. Question about the wall height. That looks like you're taking it from the Mossman LEP.
Yeah. There's a Korean guy Mossman, and I think it will be one.
I don't know how many times I've had an argument with Angelo about the Mossman application.
It's the old, remember the old days, Korean guy, Charles Wee, we had up the wall, then 45 degrees, you go at 1.5, then you go up, and then you go 45 degrees. So that sort of marries in with that.
Okay, all right. I think,
Are there more objectives in one capital A for the objectives of this clause, height of buildings, A and B? I would have thought there'd be more objectives for height.
Like at the moment there is, but we've brought them down into the development standards
Okay, so
on purpose.
A
'cause
and
we
B are the
challenged.
only two objectives for height that you're asking?
Yep.
Okay,
That's been checked by our lawyers
right.
as well, and the detail, the number, the numerics go further down to ensure that we achieve that issue. So the biggest issue every day we have on the planning, apart from the environmental, is like I said, the landscape area and also the height. So if we get that right, we meet the objectives of the LEP.
I would have thought there should have been an objective about protecting amenity. If you're having extra height and that extra height casts shadow onto the adjoining property, I would have thought if there's no other objectives to go in, there should have been one relating to amenity.
Yeah, I think we picked that up in the DCP.
Well, I mean, the problem with putting in the DCP
Okay.
is that if you're getting a 4.6, you've got to rely on the objective.
Do you want to add it? Yeah, do you want to add
Well, I think there should be something there about amenity,
in the
particularly
objectives?
for height.
Okay, in height. Okay, yeah.
So it's not in A currently. It references amenity.
No. What about shadow?
Shadowing.
shadowing has got it in B.
What about
Yes, B.
loss of views as well? Would you throw that
Well,
in as well?
Lots of views is in.
I mean, it's got to say the word amenity somewhere. I mean,
It's got amenity. We've got amenity.
Including blah, blah, blah.
A.
it's to provide community sharing.
No. You're talking about
4.3 capital A.
Yeah.
Height of
1A,
buildings.
1A, the
1A.
objectives of this clause are as follows.
I would have thought there had to be some sort of objective about protecting.
just make sure we're talking about the right thing. You're on page 37. Top of page.
Probably
Yeah.
4.3A, the height of the building, yeah.
So it's
Right.
to ensure the size and scale of development.
Okay.
Oh, you're right at the top here, are you? Yeah.
It's got amenity.
Okay. I that's right. I sort of asked,
Yeah.
is A and B,
Got it.
the
Yeah.
green highlighted, the only objectives?
Okay.
But there are others, aren't they?
Yeah, before that, yeah, 4.3 little a.
So it's got A and E.
Yeah.
So where do,
You got that?
yeah,
You got that, yeah.
where do highlighted A and B go?
Following the I presume following the 4.3A. Little a.
So you've got two sets of objectives for.
It's not well
height.
structured, yeah.
No. They could be combined, perhaps.
Yeah.
So that there's just height of buildings as opposed to height of buildings over here and additional provision over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the 4.3A really hones in on residential, specifically
4.3 little a.
4.3 big A. So there's the existing clause which is 4.3, and that's got its objectives which include character, amenity, overshadowing. We're just looking to strengthen the wording.
So there are A, B, C, D, E in at the top of page 60.
So 4.3 big A is an additional proposed provision. Everything that's there is additional to what's currently in the LEP. That's what we're proposing.
But what Graham's asking, what happens between A and E?
There are B, C, D, three extra objectives.
Is that just typo?
Oh yeah, potentially that's a typo.
So it should be A,
Yeah,
little
okay.
little A, little B,
B.
and little D. And
Yeah.
that's A, B, should be a C.
Now, if I could just come back to wall height, just for a second. Sorry. I've had this argument a few times. Not for the council, for the applicant, where the council have attempted to apply the wall height using similar definition to what you've got to a house where there's an existing basement. and you get stopped before you get to the top of the building.
Yeah, I've done that.
Sneaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is that from existing ground level?
Yeah, so you've got an existing basement. What's your existing ground level? It's the bottom, the floor of the basement.
Yeah, that's a legal judgment on that, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Might have been the case I was involved in again.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So you might want to consider looking at that because it's unfair, one might say.
Mm.
And there is some case law on it.
So they get penalised because there's already a basement there.
Yeah, and because you're relying on ground level existing.
Okay.
So you're forcing them into another 4.6.
So one argument is or they can't do it, or they lodge a 4.6.
Oh well.
Well, they might have a good argument for 4.6 because it's that argument about its existing.
Well, maybe, but it's hard to. Okay, I don't want to get into it now, but ground level existing is an attribute of the land.
Mm.
So you start getting into this debate now as opposed to prohibition versus development standard. So I'm just suggesting have a good look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just suggest also on the thing I was talking about 4.3 little a and big A, that all the objectives for height that you're retaining can go in, and the new ones are additional ones
That's what I'm saying.
that follow.
Put them together.
Yeah.
As opposed to keeping them separate.
Am I making myself clear?
Yeah, you are. So
I
for
understand you.
4.3A, specifically so there's two zones referenced there, whereas 4.3 does not reference two zones. So 4.3 is across all zones, and 4.3A we're honing in on residential areas. This is where we start to think about character, amenity, and where a lot of our feedback is around strengthening those provisions. So that was the objective of this structure, but we can certainly look into that.
I understand, because you have to read subclause 1.
Yeah.
When you're looking at 4.3 uppercase A.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I disagree with Graham on clause 2, by the way. Graham, from your experience, that's still subject to 4.6. Just the wording of it worried me. I know we said we're going to leave it in for the moment. It says must not exceed more than 8.5 metres, but that's typical language, I suppose, isn't it? But you still can vary that. That's 4.6 still applies to that if it's left in. But I like you. I think it could be deleted, but I'm not going to worry about
It
that.
might be helpful to put in a definition of story too. You're saying can only be 2 stories.
Is that in your
subclause 5
LP?
should have the definition of story. There's one in the Act.
Yeah, there is. Where that becomes, or my experience, where that becomes problematic is in areas, and that you have areas that are similar to Seaforth and Clontarf, where you've got quite significant slopes, and you've got cantilevered stories coming out. So, from the waterway, for example, you're looking at it appears as if it's a flat surface of just drive over the Spit Bridge and you go,
6 stories.
that's 6 stories.
Yeah. So that's why you need the definition of story.
Is your story in? You got a definition in your LP? I can't recall.
Yeah, we did originally have it in this clause, and through legal advice and some precedents, we were told that it needed to be consolidated. So that's why it was removed from this specific clause. It has implications around, if it's referenced here and it's referenced somewhere else and it's referenced somewhere else, there's a relationship between that has implications for the assessment.
It's all right if it's the same definition, but
not if it's different. That's right.
So, do we want to make a comment on this one then? That make sure that they combine the 4.3 little a and 4A.
Oh no, now I understand.
I understand all that.
I understand Kieran's point.
Yeah.
You have to read 4.3 big A.
Yeah.
Subclause 1 to to discern the difference.
Yeah.
Because it makes specific reference to only those R2 and R3 zones.
Okay, so you don't want to add anything more comment at this stage?
Now, only in relation to have a look at re-look at the question of calculation of wall height.
So we'll make that comment. And also, do you want to add this definition of story, or is it, what do you think?
Look, if they had legal advice, I mean, I'm not going to argue with that.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I had before and it's never worked out.
Always
well
ends
for
in
me.
tears.
Okay, 4.4 floor space ratio.
So the change in D 4.41D, that comes back to that certainty of language issue. Otherwise, it's the same.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's certainty of language. Yeah.
So, B and C are unchanged. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
So these are new ones to minimise adverse effects of bulk and scale
Yeah,
buildings.
that's
right.
not something go up to D at the moment.
Right.
But E is a new one.
Here's a new one.
Can I just say, because we've just gone past division size.
so you can still, if the access handle is not included in your floor space ratio.
Yeah, that's
calculation.
right. Yeah. Sorry, does the existing LEP have a clause for minimum subdivision size? Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just wondering whether it was duplicating, but it's fine. Area of access handles excluded. It's consistent with what you said previously.
You happy with F on that one?
Yeah, now have your
But that's a new one too. F is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's just opening up your current LEP. So that's, you've already got 6.2 in the current LEP. Here, 6.2.
Yep.
So with page 38, top of the page, F, that's just consistent. 6.2, isn't it? Does it interfere with 6.2 in any way?
As an objective.
Yeah, it's because you've got 6.2 earthworks already.
Mm.
I'm happy for duplication so long as it doesn't cause confusion.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the intent here is to limit the amount of earthworks that are done for landscaping and disturbance of the natural ground. I suppose it's a little bit of a balancing act. There was a lot of feedback from the community around preservation of landform, particularly with those landscaped areas, garden areas. We didn't want I suppose the objective here is not a lot of manipulation of that landform for those purposes, for the purposes of landscaping biodiversity. Yeah.
Mm.
There's stuff in the state policy. Isn't there a DCP that deals with the force to the harbour area that talks all about protection of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is.
I just wonder if there's any conflict between that and.
No, because you're talking about the waterways one.
And it's more about view sharing
It's more-
and setbacks to the foreshore and
It
stuff.
has some ecological.
Yeah, all that stuff.
as well.
What?
I don't think this is,
I wouldn't have thought this was
conflict.
better, no.
I don't think it's in conflict. I'd leave it there.
No, look, I'm happy. It said, my recollection, and I haven't looked at it for years, is that the state policy is quite strong in terms of the need to protect the visual side
What is?
from the harbour.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I've just done Melbourne Seaforth, and that's what's that big issue. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Hunters Hill got the Kelly's Bush
Yeah.
Marina, that's still going, isn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Starts next Thursday.
they're in the middle of the court case that'll deal with all of those matters.
Okay.
Yep.
Calculation 4.5 calculation of floor space ratio. That's pretty well straightforward, I think. Battle X handle comes into that. Okay.
Yeah. I think
Part
that's
6
right.
additional local provisions, stormwater management 6.3.
Is this part of the standard template, or is it something you would expect to have in a DCP? I mean, I don't have a problem with being there. I'm just.
So the precedence is the parameter of the master plan. These are model LED clauses out of that.
Okay,
project,
good.
So there are a number of councils that have adopted these model clauses in part, and we've been ambitious in our approach. If we can achieve our objectives and achieve it in review, and that's fantastic. And if it needs to be some negotiation, I suppose, with the state about what that looks like, then I mean we followed a precedence and our objective, I believe that clear in what we want to achieve.
Okay, so they've been adopted and put in LEPs.
Yeah.
They have been adopted as part of that master plan,
Yep.
and they have been adopted in part as part of a number of LEPs, yes.
Yes, don't have a problem with that at all. I think it's a good idea.
There's an existing clause in the LEP with 6.3 stormwater. You'll replace the whole of that existing clause.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
6.4 territorial biodiversity.
I mean, I always struggle with this objective, and it's used quite regularly. I don't know how you maintain and enhance something at the same time. Maintain keeps the status quo, while enhancing makes it better. But anyway, it seems to be used quite regularly, but I never couldn't quite understand it.
Right.
As an objective, where that kind of speaks to me is you've got an existing character that you love,
Yeah.
and you want to maintain that existing character, but
Yeah.
also to in new development to further enhance that character. So
Yeah.
That's just my that's how it kind of speaks as an objective.
No. Look, I'm not saying change it. Those sort of words have been around for ages, and I've had to deal with it before, and there's no answer to it.
It's tricky,
Anyway,
isn't it?
but I don't.
Think of it, your car. You get it serviced, so you maintain it.
Yeah.
And I'll wash it. So then I enhance it.
That's it.
Yeah. But if it said or enhance,
Oh,
but it says you can't maintain something and enhance it at the same
Same
time.
time.
I'm sick of lawyers talking to me in that sort of drivel. So it makes perfect sense at 99% of the population. But
all right.
Well, would you have and or enhance?
I'm happy to leave it. I mean,
No.
it's been around for
That's
ages.
a word in there. Okay, clause 6.6, limited development on the foreshore.
And again, you're looking to replace the whole of the existing clause.
And this one's come from the same matter.
Yeah, all of these sections of
Okay, good.
from that
Yep.
model clause. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
6.7, development on the riverfront. Got a couple of amendments there.
So all of your river frontage covered under the waterways DCP? So you've had a look, and again it has come back. I've put the question to you. There's nothing in here that's inconsistent with what that's required. No.
Yeah, we have have been through that in some level of detail as well with our legal team, just making sure that things line up. That was
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're to 6.8 on found here somewhere. 6.7 we dealt with, 6.7. 6.9 landscape area.
Right.
Couple of changes there. One change, I should say.
Yeah. And just as a bit of a, I mean, I have to, if I can share some of our journey. We were quite ambitious in our original thinking as to how we could make this clause. So the intent of it is, for example, if you're not in a riverfront area, you've got 50% built area, 50% landscaped area, which is gardens and that type of thing. That 50% of landscaped area can be reduced by 1/3 for the purposes of patios and swimming pools under a certain size. So there's a little bit of flexibility in what you can have in your garden area. So that's the intent, and we were quite we were trying to be I suppose quite perhaps too complicated in how we were trying to reinterpret that. I feel as though that we had a clause that we believed would work, and following further discussions in council as a working group, we were thinking, all right, we're trying to fix something, but we've effectively made it potentially even more complicated than when it started. Functionally, we were comfortable that it works in council, so this was the last planning proposal we put together for this. So functionally, we were satisfied that it works, but if it's not as simple as it can possibly, we really challenged ourselves as to how simple we could possibly make this while still having the same standard of garden areas. So we decided that changing numerics was not a good idea, because as soon as you change a number, if you reduce something from 50 to 33%, no matter how clever the wording is behind it and how great it might be from a development planner's perspective, if it's not clear to everyone, what's the point? So we've really sought to make it more simple. So in doing that, we've really focused on clause 4. And there's a couple of the wording was a bit tricky. It is tricky in the existing LEP. There's a couple of not more than, and the language is quite it almost conflicts with itself. So very, very difficult to understand. And as I've mentioned at the start of this meeting, it's misinterpreted by so many in the community, and so many applications. Like development planners have to sit down and actually talk through how to calculate this, how to interpret, which is obviously a problem. It's obviously not working. So
yeah, because it is quite difficult sometimes when you're going through, like, your boundary, the side boundary that doesn't fit within the landscaping area, for instance, if it's just under, and how to get that 50%.
Yeah, definitely, and even down for us, things as perhaps they do not seem trivial, but going from 33% to 1/3, just to try and make it basic language. What are we trying to achieve? How do I explain it in the most simple way, whilst not deteriorating that objective? We want the same outcome. We just want to make it clear to understand. So yeah, really focusing on that for keeping the language flowing. So rather than having words next to each other in a clause which contradict with each other, so you almost end up at the same point, we've decided to take all that out. Make it more clear. So replace 33% with 1/3, and we've really challenged ourselves. We are a bit fearful of going any further in simplifying, or else we might once again deteriorate what we're seeking to achieve. Is really the landscape area, the 50% landscaped area, 60% fronting the waterways, and having some flexibility around other small types of development that can happen in those areas. So that's really what we're seeking to achieve. So we don't want to see changing the outcome through this particular clause. We just want to make it clearer.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where we've come all the way back around to just focusing on clause 4.
Yeah. Can I make a comment? Yeah, and you may have thought this through, but a pathway doesn't automatically, in colloquial language, automatically equal a driveway. should the word driveway be added in there?
I suspect we've used the same language as the existing LEP in what's excluded.
No, you haven't,
You haven't.
because the definition of landscaped area, which is from the standard instrument, refers to part paved area.
So just reading the existing clause, so despite subclause 2, the minimum landscaped area can be reduced by not more than 33% for the purposes of accommodating a pathway, patio, terrace, pool, 40 square metres, under 40 square metres. There's no driveway in the existing clause 4 of the LEP. So is the
Go
comment
to the definition of landscaped area.
in the standard instrument?
No, just in yours.
Yeah, this is the LEP.
The definition of landscaped area.
In the existing LEP?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it.
Means part of the site used for growing plants, grasses and trees, but does not include any building, structure or hard paved area.
So perhaps without wanting to, I hear what you're saying, without wanting to unpack this too significantly here, what we're saying that potentially the wording can be strengthened between clause 4, subclause 4, sorry, in clause 6.9 and the definition of landscaped areas. So those two definitions should be reviewed and made sure that they're consistent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back and look at how the existing one came in, it might well be that you didn't want to exclude driveways. You might want to.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You don't want to exclude
Because they could be too big.
Yes. And it's a big surface area and it's not, that's exactly right,
Returning circle, isn't it?
Yeah, all sorts of things, you know. Yeah. For a Mack truck. No, so that's, I just wanted to raise the thought.
Do you want to raise an issue, amend this?
No, I think if we look at how it relates to the existing, then it's consistent and that's important.
Okay.
So
that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen people parking multiple cars in their front yard, like.
Yeah.
Okay, 6.11, development in local centres and mixed use areas. Now we've done something earlier on the mixed use zone before, that this is complementing it. Is that what you're saying?
So just a bit of context behind this one as well. Everything's got a story in this planning proposal. Also, there's some others, and the passion, I suppose, behind what we're seeking to achieve would result in that from the community. At the time when we were certainly having some very robust discussions with the community back in 2022, it was state government reform had come through after COVID relating to employment areas. There was a level of distress in the community around what that might mean for our local area. We expressed that to the state government, and we were really directed to our own LEP and our current planning proposal and how we might be able to achieve what we want to achieve through our existing LEP. So this is obviously a relatively substantial review, and that's really what it's been driven by. It's the community wanting to see certain things in our limited amount of commercial areas, MU1 and E1 exclusively, and how we want those to function and up here.
Is it duplicating? Because you've got objectives under the MU1 zone. I know you can find the E1 as well, and same with the E1. But is that duplicating everything?
I don't have a problem with duplication so long as they're not inconsistent. So because this is a new clause that comes in, Charles, it might be worthwhile just as an advisory note, just when you put this to the council, just to confirm to the council that there's no inconsistency between 6.11 and the objectives of the zone objectives of.
Can I make that as a note? That's important.
Yeah. That's just a bit of a checking exercise here, and to provide that assurance to the council.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, that sounds good. Yep. Okay. Schedule 1, additional permitted uses.
Just before we get on to the structural, is there, and this goes to the landscaping thing or changes, the provisions relating to urban heat. Yeah,
Urban heat.
yeah. I mean, there are standard conditions that would contribute to your landscape character, and it also has the benefit of limiting heat. Now, I would have thought
an objective to that effect would be worthwhile.
Yeah, well, not so much an objective. Are there standard clauses that that you can adopt for urban heat? I thought. I mean, I know a lot of councils have adopted them, and then I thought something like that. I know Penrith has one that would be good as part of this housekeeping exercise.
We
Would that be under landscaping or?
Well, no, it's its own. The idea is to provide trees so the houses don't heat up and you use less power. But they also provide that landscape bonus too by having the large canopy trees that
provide shade with
temperature. So I mean, I would have thought this would have been a good time to drop that into the, because there's no argument about it. I mean, certainly councils have adopted it all over Sydney, and it has a strong environmental purpose, but it also has a beneficial landscape one too.
Can we make it?
Okay, so
can we make it like that? Because Kieran's got an answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to start my response with we have pushed so far into the department's comfort zone, but if there's a precedence, it does help us, and I definitely understand the value of that, and it's something that we can look into. We are looking into that significantly as part of the DCP review, so that there are substantial changes that will be proposed through that in relation to tree canopy and urban heat.
Just up to 10, Mr. Carruthers. Clause 7.30, Penrith LEP 2010, urban heat. Quite a lengthy bit of a clause.
Yeah, like Kieran said, we are looking at in length.
There's a precedent. You can look at that. You might want to put that in the DCP. You might want to put it in the LEP.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a good example.
That's a note we need to put in the recommendation here today.
Yeah. So that's a reference to clause 7.30 for Penrith LEP 2010 urban heat, matter for consideration by council. No matter wherever you want to put it.
That's good.
There's a precedent you can
thank you. And one that's already adopted by parliamentary council.
Yeah, that's right. It's in the LEP. So
it depends to a certain extent on whether you want to get involved in that, because it can create a bit of friction with developers, but it's a contemporary condition that addresses a contemporary problem. Anyway, you guys have to think about it. But
you want to add something in the report on that?
No, it's just a matter for the council to consider for inclusion in the planning proposal, or for provision to be made in the DCP review.
Thank you.
Going back,
you haven't said much, but you're doing a good job.
Are you keeping a record of these? Good. You'll help me here. You'll help me here. I may need some help there. Yeah.
We really detailed with regard to our heat map, and with the department, and also looking at our DCP in specific with regard to the tree canopy and the tree loss in the area. So spending a lot of time on that, and the council's very keen and concerned about that. So the engineers department and Kieran and us are it's an important factor.
I was involved in a matter yesterday, a Mossman matter, and I raised the issue about preservation of the tree canopy on a site. Shouted down. Going to open up views of the harbour, isn't it?
Okay. Schedule 1, additional permitted uses, a number of amendments there.
Wouldn't you be better off scrapping them all and letting them rely on existing use rights rather than?
Oh, no. I don't support that existing use rights.
Well, problem is if it's in Schedule 1 and it's been built, that's the only thing you can do on the land apart from permissible uses.
Yeah.
So if you have existing use rights, you can change it from one use to another use.
Yeah, the trouble is that down the track, this codifies it, right? So therefore, it's there. So you know, it survives the run over by the bus test. So if everyone in council, you know, doesn't come back on Monday, it's here. There's no worry about, you know, having to, because existing use rights, the onus falls on the applicant, whereas this. We're talking about certainty. We're talking about certainty of language. This gives certainty. If I own that property, I know I can do that use.
But if it's already there,
yeah, but it's there, and but this is the public record that keeps it there.
well, the public record's available. But look, that was a choice the council made. I'm happy to go with it. I'm just
one of the things I will say about Schedule 1 uses, though, come up is it came up in not so long ago, is in the characterisation of the use, where something was added to Schedule 1 way back, because these Schedule 1 uses, they just carry forward in subsequent revisions and LEPs as you go on.
Yeah.
Right. But is to, I don't know whether this is worth it, you tell me, to ensure that the use can be successfully characterised under the current standard instrument.
Characterised as
whatever it is.
Whatever it got approved for.
Yeah.
And that's a really good point. I suppose a lot of these changes that are proposed, it's almost like we're seeking to strengthen the integrity of the document. So, for example, if there's a use that's already permitted, if a healthcare facility is already permitted in that zone and it's listed in Schedule 1, well, that's just duplication. That's the kind of thing we were targeting, not so much a site that's been identified for a certain use where it's not permissible under the LEP, for example, even if it is existing in some way. I think to then take it out of the schedule would change potentially the outcome for that site. May not have been envisaged by the current listing. So we didn't want to go through and wholeheartedly kind of push things around. We just want to identify the obvious things and make sure the integrity of the schedules.
That's taking them out. I'm talking about the ones you're going to keep in there. Now, I don't know that there's a legal question about this, because if it was added in Schedule 1 in 2004 and the definition of that particular land use has changed since, then do you have the right to be able to update the name of the land use?
Well, you could if you had existing use right.
So look, it's just a matter for thought. I don't know the answer to that. So it applies to the ones you keep, and it does raise a legal question, and I think it's just, but it's worth looking at. Yeah,
that is a good point. Yeah.
You want to add any comment on that one?
There
we go.
The properties being retained in Schedule 1, council to consider whether the additional land uses can be appropriately characterised given the current standard instrument.
You could find something. I've been looking through shop top housing, seniors housing, but if I go through every one of these clauses and do a cross reference as potential, that's a good point. So yeah, happy to go through that exercise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or can I add, or alternatively remove from the list and the uses rely on.
This is the ambition.
Well, I mean,
No, it's worth considering.
I mean, the Schedule 1 uses are many years ago. The department never liked them. I mean,
no one liked them.
No.
Okay. You get that, Sarah? Okay. Schedule 2, exempt development.
Well, I mean, I know the Roads Act approval is a different process, but it's sort of funny saying it's exempt development. You don't need approval, but only if you get approval, sort of thing. You know, it just seems peculiar to me.
And is it only now? It's another thing too, right? That 3 brings up a few things. There are other sections of the Roads Act that give approvals, rather not just limited to 125. But you've specifically targeted 125 for a reason?
Yeah, through legal advice that we should reference that clause. So, and just the journey behind this one, this was actually a resolution of council to include this clause. It wasn't actually a council staff recommendation. So we've done a lot of research behind what could occur through this, and then where this exempt land use is already in the strategic planning framework, so it's already in the code set. It is in the Mossman LEP in a very similar wording.
Okay.
So what we're trying to achieve here is just to make it more local in how the provision is structured. So very similar to Mossman, but with legal advice specific to Hunters Hill municipality.
Okay. So for the panel's benefit, section 125 of the Roads Act relates to approval to use a road for food or drink purposes. And I'll just read you the first sub-clause. A roads authority may grant an approval that allows a person who operates food or drink premises adjacent to a public road to use part of the public road for the purposes of the food or drink premises. So it's limited to just food or drink premises.
What if it's an RMS road?
Well, the roads authority.
Which is the RMS.
Which is, yeah. So whoever the roads authority. So read that addition that Kieran's put in, bearing in mind the roads authority. It says, if located on the footpath of a public road, must be carried out in accordance with an approval granted under section 125. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, fair, yeah.
It's
You're just drawing attention to the fact that you need approval from the roads authority.
Exactly. It's like, well, yeah, you're just repeating the legislation, but that's fine.
Yeah. But some people don't know that, I suppose.
Yeah, we've had
Yeah.
we've had problems with schools and communities where they're coffee carts on the road. That's what the issue is. So
Yeah.
that's why it's erased.
But the point, there's another point that the footpath, the footway, is part of the road.
Right. Yep.
Well, it's fine. It's like when you've got, Charles, it's like when you've got a condition that really looks like it really serves the purpose of an advisory note.
Because whatever happens, you still need approval under the Roads Act, don't you? Even though you make it exempt development.
You do.
You go under the Roads Act 125, you have to get approved.
You've still got to get approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's fine.
Yeah, but not a DA submission.
So, but just explain to me, so under section 68, they still need to get council approval, and that's when you do the leasing arrangements for the use of the footpath.
Well, that's only if the council hold the freehold. If you've got the Transport for New South Wales, you still might need an activity approval.
Yeah. I was just questioning how you enter into a lease to use a public footpath.
Oh, well, because it's part of the road, there are leasing provisions in the Roads Act as well.
Yeah, but it goes through the council are generally leasing it, aren't not the roads?
Well,
I thought
yeah,
the council.
they're equivalent legislation.
Yeah.
Do you need both do you need an activity approval as well as a?
Well, it depends where it's sitting. Depends where it sits. So on the footpath, it's on the road, it's on the main road.
The benefit of this is allows you to do a coffee cart.
Yeah.
On a road that's got a R2 zoning on it.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's back next to a school. It's it's not intended to block a main arterial road or a secondary.
No, like side street.
It's to allow flexibility and to allow that community engagement.
And it becomes exempt development for the purpose of the LEP. So no matter what the zoning of the road is, you just focus on the Roads Act approval. You don't have to worry about it.
And it comes back to us anyway.
Okay.
Did the council understand that even though you make it exempt development, it still requires approval and you still have to jump through all the Roads Act hoops?
Yeah. You just don't need a DA.
It's like the outdoor seating, we put it in there. Yeah. Where before it's the DA and a process, And a person that wants to run a business put a chair or a seat out there.
So
It's
how
not
are
a big
these,
issue.
how are these Roads Act applications dealt with? They dealt with by planning or engineering?
Oh, well,
But
No, I mean, it's not related to.
some
The
might
OP.
have some might have to go to the traffic committee, depending on what it is.
Right.
And it's engineering mainly, but we have plenty input.
Yeah, okay.
okay. A lot of Roads Act applications, the decisions are not appellable. And the rules relating to the imposition of conditions are much more relaxed.
Yeah.
So
Allow flexibility.
It's just.
And for the school fete.
and you can time limit the approvals to whatever you want.
Yeah. You just don't want people to get splattered by a Mack truck when they're having their latte.
That doesn't happen in Hunters Hill.
No, because they're all on the ginormous driveways that aren't included in landscape
Or the
areas.
puddle that the Mack truck drives through. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, everybody happy with that?
Yes.
That's it, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. I'm going to try and summarise this, but help me here, Sarah and the rest of you. So we've got Sarah or Steve have given, Karen has given us a resolution, but I thought you made a good point, Graham, at the start about acknowledging the extensive community consultation in terms of how it's done. So I was going to say something along the lines of the panel acknowledges the extensive consultation, community consultation held by the council, both within the council itself and through the community, and that then picking up the resolution, the LEPP advises the council that supports the attached planning proposal being referred to the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure, seeking a gateway determination in accordance with Section 3.4 of the Environmental Planning Assessment Act 1979, but urge council to consider the following points in making their decision. And I picked up, and help me here, Sarah, we've got the height, the height was, what was the height? Height was 4.3A, but the council, we questioned the definition, the height definition of 7.2, and council consider that.
That's the wall calculation of wall height.
Yeah. I don't think we want to do anything about story here, do we, from memory? Or do you want to give definition on that? No, definitely. Next point I had was 6.1, potential to look at the clause 6.11 and the other one on to make sure there was no conflict. That was the other one on the was it on the local centre 6.11 was it, and the conflict between the E1 and the MU1 zone, make sure there's no conflicts.
The objectives. So the objectives of the clause,
Yeah.
of the new clause don't interfere with the existing objectives of the respective zones.
Don't. Okay. And also, just going back, whilst we're acknowledging the community engagement, the panel observed that there's a lot of reliance on the Parramatta master plan in terms of the foreshore areas and the riparian zones. Are you happy with that? We don't want to mention that?
I just I wouldn't actually just refer to Parramatta. I would just say that we acknowledge the council have researched.
Okay, yeah.
And including provisions from the
existing EPIs developed by
State government
and other councils.
Okay.
And what was that strategy or that study?
Parramatta master plan.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of.
I'd include that in.
Yeah.
Put that in.
Yeah, that's what my point. Help me here, Sarah. There's 7.3, I think Brian raised about the Penrith LEP. What wording did you pick up on?
Environmental plan 2010. Possible inclusion in the planning proposal or the development.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
And then finally on the Schedule 1, council consider whether the proposals can be appropriately characterised.
No, to consider that those properties being retained in Schedule 1,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
that the associated additional land uses should
Appropriately characterised.
be reviewed for proper character, should be reviewed for proper characterisation,
Appropriate characterisation.
having regard to land use definition, current land use definitions in the standard instrument.
Yeah. Or alternatively, remove.
If developed for the nominated use, that use be removed from the schedule and the use rely on existing use rights.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
you happy with that?
I'm very happy with that.
Any further discussion, guys, gentlemen? Happy for me to close the meeting?
Yeah. Happy.
I close the meeting at 12:40.
Well
Thank
done.
you, everybody, for attending. Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. And Graham. Thank you very much.